So welcome to the start of our F1 2020 career mode. This is the driver career mode, and what we're doing today is we are starting this episode with the Formula 2 feeder series into the F1 series. So there's three setups you can choose. You can choose a three race season in F2. You can choose a 10 race season, I believe, and a full stint. You can also skip straight into F1, but what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing the sort of the taster series where we do 3 races in Formula 2, and then we will try and become F2 champion and head straight into F1. So this is the F1 2020 game, and I hope you guys are excited for the release of this. Got it a day early so we can bring some early footage of it. So we're going to be joining the ART team in the F2 series, where hopefully we can get a decent result. This is the 2019 F2 season as well. I believe the game's going to be updated for the 2020 F2 season at a later date. But once you've chosen your team, you then got to decide on a driver academy you want to join for your driver career mode after this F2 season. So for me, I ended up going with the Renault driver academy because I thought, Renault would be a pretty cool team to join for our driver career mode. But let's head down for race number 1, which is round 6 of the F2 season at Austria, where we will hopefully get a decent result.
Joining me here in Spielberg for the feature race today is the GP2 champion of 2012. It is, of course, the one and only Davide Valsecchi.
Ciao Alex, what a day to go racing here in Austria. The feature race, of course, has the most points of the weekend. But for the drivers in 9th or 10th place, it's also important to push hard to get to the top 8 and to get the pole position for the sprint race tomorrow.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the...
So here we are on the grid then for the start of our F2 season, and we're starting in P4, and we're going to be launching these F2 cars for the first time on this game. And I haven't really driven these since the F1 2019 game, where we obviously did a few, like the little intro in the F2 season. But here we go, we lose a position at the start, and oh my god, I was getting used to the rear end on this F2 car. But anyway, we're under attack now from P5, where hopefully we can get back up his inside at the end of this long straight, which we do, and back into P5. So now we've got a bit of recovery to do. We've got to regain that P4 position if we can, and then go after the podium runs and see where we can end up in this F2 season. It's just a bit of fun before you head into your driver career mode, but hopefully we can get a couple of wins and maybe a podium or something like that. That's what we're going to aim for. But anyway, we're sat in P5 and we're going to be hunting down our teammate in the other ART car, and then obviously there'll be a few familiar names around here. Delatraz behind us, our teammate in our My Team career mode, which has launched. So if you have missed that, make sure you go check out that series, the start of our My Team, and he is our teammate in our team. So make sure you check out that first episode to see who our custom team is. But here we go, up into P4 at the penultimate corner. Not a short track, this one, and a good eases you into the F1 game. And we're into P4. So now next up, you can see fastest lap of the race from Latifi. I was going to say he's a familiar name. He is the Williams driver in the F1 2020 season, of course. Nudge that Zhao guy out of the way and we get through, and now we're in the podium positions and we need to hunt down the 2 guys ahead. We've got some decent pace here in this F2 car, so I was pretty pleased with it. It was quite fun to drive, actually. I was kind of like, didn't know whether to just skip straight into F1, but I thought, you know what, we'll give F2 a go, and I rather enjoyed it. So I might do a mini series on F2 at a later date, maybe when the 2020 cars release, because they look slightly different. I think the front nose, the nose is slightly lifted up slightly compared to these on the 2020 cars, but hopefully they'll be coming in soon. We set a fast lap of the race here on lap number 2, starting lap number 3, and we picked up the DRS now, which has been activated for the first time, so hopefully we can get a run on this guy and try and find a way past if possible. You should be able to do it on the brakes here. He's looking at the inside of Latifi and he locks up a bit. He wasn't able to make the move, but he's compromised himself, and we've clipped the back of him, and putting the power down these cars in these lower gears and the lower RPMs is very difficult, so you got to manage that. Maybe short shift it a bit just to help. That's what we did, and then coming on the brakes again. You've got the usual DRS straights from the F1 series. So the F2 series works. I don't know how much you know about it, but it's the feature race and then the sprint race. And I've set both of these to the 5-lap races, but you only do one because it's one of each race in this taster to the F2 season, because I haven't gone for a full season. But if you just do a full season, you do a feature race and then a sprint race at each Grand Prix weekend. But here we go then, we made our way up into P2 and now we're going on the hunt for Latifi, but we've missed the braking zone into the penultimate corner, but we bring it all back down to planet Earth into the final corner, and now starting lap number 4, we're going after Latifi if we can. Got to try and keep this guy behind. He's an Italian Giotto, I think his name is, in the F2 series. But so far, we got a little bit on the curb there, and that's kicked us out. Going to pick up the DRS just to try and defend, but it's no use compared to this guy, this Giotto guy to the left of us. He's going to come through. He's got the outside line though, so that's going to compromise us, and hopefully we can get him back up the inside at the end of this second straight, which we do just that. And now we can refocus and go after Latifi. And coming onto the final lap into turn number 1, we're going to try, I thought about up the inside, but I thought just sitting behind him, we'll get the DRS on the next 2 steps, on the next 2 straights I mean. But you can see the rear end stepping out there as you accelerate on the curb. It's not very stable, so I've learnt that. Watch out under acceleration at low RPMs in these lower gears. And coming up the inside of Latifi to take the lead for the first time. So here we are then at the final corner. We're going to bring it around to beat Latifi and take a win in our first ever F2 race. I would take that not bad for our first time in Formula 2. Thoroughly enjoyed driving this car. And we've got 2 more rounds to go. So we're going to be heading out to Italy in the next race. And then the finale, which is of course Abu Dhabi. And we'll be doing the sprint race there. So let's celebrate with our team. And hopefully we can have more celebrations to come.
An amazing race today, and a very well-deserved one too. The team worked very hard to get exactly the right setup out of the F2 car. It works for them, and the results speak for themselves. ARTGP winners today.
Right then, here we are ready for lights out at the Italian Grand Prix in the F2 series. We're starting in P4 once again. I think that's just a default for this mini-series in F2, but we've been beaten up at the start, even worse than at our first race at Austria, and we drop down to P8, and you carry all that loss of momentum down into turn number 1, but we're going to make it back up on the brakes, round the outside, hopefully into P7 if we can come out 2x2 through there. The cars are a little bit smaller than the F1 cars, a little bit less sensitive as well, so you can do that, but we just struggle putting the power down and with the acceleration. That's costing us. And Aitken, he's coming up our outside, which is inside, which has become the outside for the next corner into the chicane, but we're pretty confident on the brakes luckily, so make up that position, defend, and we've got to make our way up from P8 to try, and I'm aiming for a podium, so let's see if we can get this podium. We're right on the back of 7th place man in the AMS car. Let's see if we can get alongside him. We've got a pretty good exit. I've got decent traction in the higher gears and at higher speeds, just at the very low speeds, at the low RPMs, you just can't get the traction down, and we're running side by side. These straights feel so much longer in these F2 cars, but hitting 201 miles per hour, that is pretty quick. I don't think the F2 cars had that much top speed on them, but there you go, you learn something new, and we're back into P7 now, and we can go after my team driver teammate, which is Delatraz in the, I'm not sure what car that is actually, I'm not very knowledgeable with the F2 cars, but here we go, we're lining them up. We've got the slipstream, no DRS yet of course, it's only lap number 2. We're going to try and line them up the inside, the end of this straight. Oh, he just beats us on the brakes at a purple middle sector though, so we've got a little bit of pace. We've just got to fight our way through the traffic, and there's a lot of long straights, so the slipstream is very powerful around here at the Italian Grand Prix. And here we go, line them up into the final corner if we can. On the brakes, yes we do, just about into P6 now, and now we've got to try and pick up the DRS, which we'll be able to do on the next lap, just starting soon, and we can go after P5. Nicholas Latifi setting the fastest lap of the race, but then we quickly beat that with a 33 flat, a good solid lap from us there. And so once we clear the 5th place man, we can go after our teammate, and I wasn't expecting him to be that early on the brakes. I was very late on the brakes then. We just about avoided a collision there, that was really close. So next up is our teammate P4 again. You see struggling with the traction, and we've got a bit of a gearbox problem there. You can see it's flashing orange, but we make our way up the inside of our teammate. I didn't expect to make that move, to be honest. It looked like a bit of a dive bomb, but I really didn't expect to make it. And coming around to end lap number 4, start the final lap, you can see we've got a gearbox problem and losing the traction there. Oh, that is one area we're really struggling with. I thought I was right in the high gears and high speed corners, but obviously still suffering a little bit there. So ending the final lap in 4th place. So not quite the podium we were looking for, but a pretty decent result again. I would take that. Hopefully that will still put us in contention with taking the F2 Drivers' Championship. So we'll have to see with that one. But let's head down to Abu Dhabi now for the final race in F2. So we're in our proving grounds. We're trying to get a decent drive for next season in the F1 2020 season. Obviously we're in the Renault Academy and we're trying to get in that Renault team. But once again, a poor start's costing us. Dropping down to P9, trying to find our way up the inside of Aitken there into turn number 1, which we do just that. We're into P8 now. Trying to get past Delatraz, but the understeer, and look at this, we just got so much understeer and got an illegal overtake, so I cut the corner slightly, so I was like having to let all these guys back through, and I was only meant to let one guy through, Delatraz, but we let so many people through, but we get them back at the chicane in sector 2 and back into P8 now. So Delatraz, where can we get him? We're going to try and slipstream down this straight, but I think without the DRS and the poor traction once again, we're going to have to leave it a little bit longer, and we do just that. On the next straight though, same lap number 1, we're going to try and get past Delatraz. It's one up the inside, he's covering that inside, very aggressive defender now, which is nice to see from the AI, and we'll find our way into P7 and onto the back of Giotto, who got driver of the day out of the Italian Grand Prix. So let's see where we'll be able to get him. We'll probably do most of our overtakes at the end of the straights, to be honest. We're pretty good on the brakes, just poor acceleration and poor traction, just down to me more than anything. But here we go then, lining up our fellow F2 driver. Where can we get him? Lap number 2, no DRS, so it's going to be a slipstream job. And if you just see, look at the again struggling with the traction out of 2nd gear, and we're just going to be trying to pick up the slipstream. That's all we've got to try and get this guy. But again, leaving it to the next straight, and he locks up, and we make the move up the inside very late on the brakes, get it all stopped, slam on the anchors, and away we go into P6. And now we're going to chase him down his teammate, which is Zhao, I think that's how you say his name. Appalling pronunciation, some of these names. But anyway, into P6 we go, and hunting down the 5th place man. Fastest first sector for us, not bad at all. And we're going to flick it around the outside, which is going to become the inside line for the hairpin, getting the job done before the long straight, which is good. Let's see if we can nail the exit. Not ideal, but better than him. And we're into P5 now, chasing down our teammate next up the road in P4. We set a fast lap of the race, and on lap number 4 we're going to try and get our teammate. We're going to close up on the brakes, and wow, we sent it up the inside. Bit of a dive bomb there, wasn't planning that, but I would take that. We're just pretty good on the brakes, to be honest. So next up are the podium runners, Latifi and his teammate. So let's see where we can get them. I think Latifi is our rival in the F2 Championship, to be honest. So the gap's 0.6 of a second up to Latifi and his teammate. So let's see if we can get him. We've got one more lap to go after this one. We've set a fastest 2nd sector, so the pace and the momentum's with us, and Latifi I think is our championship rival, so we've got to try and get ahead of him or as close as possible to him in order to try and win the F2 Driver Championship. So the tyres feeling a little bit worn at this point, as you can see on the graphic, about 16-17% all round, so not feeling ideal, but 0.3 of our best lap, so a good solid lap come the end of the race. And here we go, final lap time. Let's see if we can pick up a podium here, and then we'll pick up a 2nd podium. So we've got to win, and hopefully aiming for our 2nd podium in F2. Here we go then on the brakes. Oh, he's locking up into the end of this straight and swerving a little bit in the braking zone. Not ideal. Trying to put us off a little bit, but anyway, not offended by that, and we're off and into 3rd place. So he's got our teammate behind him to deal with. And now coming towards the end of a lap number 5. We're going to only manage to get 3rd place, but Latifi didn't win, which is good for us in the championship. Just 2 more corners to navigate and chuck it into the final corner. You can see we're struggling a little bit with the grip as the guy behind's catching up. But in the end then, we're going to come round to end F2 in 3rd place. But It was a good drive and a thoroughly enjoyable taster into F2. Might do a series in the future where it's just Formula 2, but yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. Got driver of the day and also became the F2 world champion.
To witness a number of great sporting events, and here's another to add to that prestigious list. It's the ultimate dream for any racing driver. We have a new Formula 2 world champion.
So then, that is F2 over, and we're going to be setting up our Formula 1 season here in the driver career mode. We're part of the Renault Driver Academy, so in the end I decided to go for Renault. Thought Renault would be a nice team in the midfield, just try and build up to a good season, hopefully get it into a race-winning car. But I'm going for a 10-race season. We're going to choose 10 tracks, which I really like. I wanted to try Vietnam out, so I've chosen Vietnam. We've got the Netherlands as well, new track this year, Zandvoort for round number 2. Round number 3 we'll head out to Spain and then Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix for the 4th round. 5th round we'll go Austria, 6th round we'll go Silverstone, then we'll head to Hungary, Belgium for the 8th round, and then we're going to round it off, I believe, at Japan and Brazil. So it should be a nice little season, nice little 10 race season. I hopefully get through a few seasons of this, because this is sort of the second series on the channel. The main one's going to be the My Team career mode. So hopefully you guys did enjoy that, and this is a sneak peek of what it looks like in your driver career mode menu, similar to the My Team, which is nice to see all these departments carry over. Obviously we can start to develop the car, improve the engine, aero and chassis, as well as the durability. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this F2 mini episode, and there'll be more F2 content coming soon, hopefully. But for now, next time we'll be heading out into the start of our F1 season. But for now, I will see you guys in the next episode.